So please welcome Aleece, and I'm going to turn it over to you now. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. I was muted. Now I'm unmuted. Hello. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today and talk to you about the fabulous Fox Theater in St. Louis. Is everyone having a great day? I hope so. Thank you for having me. I'm actually not down at the Fox Theater. I'm actually furloughed, but glad to give this presentation with you. I'm actually working and giving you this Zoom meeting from my home, but I have a good amount of information to go over with you regarding the fabulous Fox Theater. Now, before I get started, no one needs to talk to me, but just by a show of hands, just raise your hand if you've ever been to the Fox Theater before. Show me that hand. All right. I love to hear those things. We thank you very much for your patronage and hope you come back soon. Judy was absolutely correct that the tour program of the Fabulous Fox Theater is reinstated. It will begin again on June 5th, even though because of this scary, nasty COVID, we did have to close our doors for a short period of time. We did have had several concerts the last couple of months, April and May. Smaller concerts, only 300 to 500 people were allowed in the building. And of course, we were social distancing. But we are open again. And I don't know if you know this or if you've seen the advertising, but Broadway is scheduled for the next season. By a show of hands, who knows that Broadway is coming back in November? Raise your hands. Let me see those hands again. Good. I believe some of you might be subscribers of ours, and Broadway is scheduled to return in November. Now, before I jump ahead and talk more about the shows, I did want to give you some information about the Fabulous Fox Theater in St. Louis, even though I know you've been there before. What part of what my job is, even though I oversee the front of the house, which is exactly what Judy said. I oversee the seating during the shows of the Fox Theater and all of the staff. I have the volunteer ushers, head ushers, nurses, elevator operators, guest service clerks, ticket scanners, house managers. I have over 1,000 people that report to me. Whew. I also oversee the tour program. So I have a lot of information that I wish to share with you at this time. Specifically, I want to talk about the beginning. I have some video that I want to show you of the inside of the Fox Theater and some photos as well. I want to talk about the architecture and the history of the Fabulous Fox Theater. And then at the end of my presentation, I want to take a Q&A from you and answer any questions. That's wonderful, Jonathan. I'm really enjoying the pigs. That's adorable. I want to take any questions that I can answer for you at the end of my presentation. So let's start at the beginning. The Fabulous Fox Theater in St. Louis was started by this man. I'm going to show you some photos here. That is the man himself. His name was Wilhelm Fox, William Fox to all of us. Let me show you again. Mr. Fox was a movie mogul. He came with his family when he was 9 months old from Hungary. He was an immigrant. He came from Hungary as 9 months old. He grew up in the East Coast in New York. And as he aged, he realized and quickly fell in love with theater. So his industry interest was theater. Later came movies when he moved to California. But as a young man, he started working at some local theaters in New York, because as you know, a lot of the major theaters started in New York. And he started buying theaters as he saved his money. When he married it to a lady named Eva Leo Fox, he moved to California. And then he bought more and more theaters. It was rumored that Mr. Fox, in his heyday back in the 20s and 30s, Mr. Fox owned upwards of 500 theaters across the United States. That's what a big deal he was. He also owned Fox Theatricals. So he not only owned the operational theaters, he owned the production company that put the shows on called Fox Theatricals. When he moved to California with his wife and family, he opened a little movie studio. Some of you, I go to the movies, again, show of hands, who loves to watch a movie almost daily? Raise your hand if you're a movie lover. Please help me out. Very good. I watched a movie just yesterday. And yesterday there was a little logo that pops up. And the logo that popped up said 20th Century Fox. I saw you all moving your lips out there. That is the man that owned and started 20th Century Fox. That's what a big deal he was. A giant mogul of the time. So theaters, production company, and movie studio. It was rumored that Mr. Fox, when the crash occurred in the country last century, in late 1929, October of 1929, and the country was thrown into a depression, get this, it was rumored because of his great wealth that Mr. Fox owed the government, because of his losses, a lot of businessmen did not know what to do with their losses, he owed the government $93 million in 1930. So, and a lot of businessmen lost everything back in the day when the Depression hit. Mr. Fox, over the course of several years, did start unloading and getting rid of and selling his theaters because there's a lot of overhead in owning all those theaters. But he kept the production company for many, many years, and he especially kept his movie studio. It was also rumored there was only 2 games in town, by the way, at that time when he did these things. He had the only 2 games in town were 20th Century Fox and MGM Grand. We all know the Roaring Lion from MGM Grand. Mr. Fox attempted to buy MGM Grand. But the government stepped in and stated to him that you may not have a monopoly because he would own all movie production at that point in time. So they did not allow him to purchase MGM Grand, even though he could have financially. Now, he kept his movie studio. Why did he do that? Well, a little thing called royalties, ladies and gentlemen. When you make movies, the production company receives all the royalties from the success of those movies. So even though Mr. Fox and his family owed $93 million to the government over the course of several years more, I didn't want you to worry about Mr. Fox and his family because he kept his movie studio and collected all the royalties over the years, he and his wife and family ended up in their late 80s living a life of leisure in Manhattan, and that's where they passed away. It was true that he lost all his millions, but because he kept the movie studio, he gained many, many hundreds of millions of dollars back. Now, how many of us in our lifetime can say we made all those millions, lost it, and then made it all back again? Not too many of us. So I didn't want you to worry about Mr. Fox. He did fine. But Mr. Fox opened our Fox Theater in St. Louis. I'm going to just show you an inside shot of the Fox Theater now. Let's make sure, I want to try to get it where you don't see a lot of glare. There we go, that's better. That's the inside of the Fox Theater in St. Louis. He opened our Fox Theater in St. Louis in 1929. It was just 4 months before the crash. Luckily, we were open. The Fox Theater in St. Louis was very well received. What you may not know is that in Midtown, where you have your beloved Fox Theater, down there on Grand Avenue, which is now termed Grand Center because it is the theater district of St. Louis. What you may not know is that we were the last of 10 major theaters all along Grand Avenue. There was a Missouri Theater, there was the Americana, and many other theaters right there on Grand Avenue or just off of Grand Avenue. So there was a great amount of competition between the theaters. We were the mecca of entertainment at the time. You've all heard the term the Great White Way in New York. Well, the Great White Way is, why is that term used, the Great White Way, for the Broadway? It's because of the marquee Broadway lights. So the lights of Broadway mean the Great White Way. Well, St. Louis, Grand Avenue was our Great White Way because of all those 10 major theaters with all those lit up Broadway marquees. You could take the trolley down to a show, or people would drive or take the bus. Yes, you guys remember the trolleys in St. Louis. I bet you do. And so the entertainment was right there in Midtown. There's a lot of competition between the theaters. Alrighty. Well, I say this, if there was a competition between those 10 theaters and the Fox Theater, we're the winners. We win, woohoo, because we're still open and we bring the St. Louis area the greatest touring national Tony Award-winning Broadway shows that come from New York. Now, the Fox Theater opened, like I said, in 29. The theater goers quickly fell in love. We were a movie palace, by the way. We were not initially, although we did have a little vaudeville, we were mostly a movie house and showed movies at the Fox Theater. The 4 months before the crash, people fell in love with the building because I'm going to show you some of the architecture. It's just incredible. Also, you may not have known, we were one of the only buildings in 1929 that had inside air conditioning. We were also one of the only buildings that had elevators. So the Fox was quite a novelty back in 1929. I was not born yet. Most of you were not either. However, it was quite a novelty, especially with the St. Louis summers, to be able to come inside and the air conditioning. You can bet that there was a lot of folks that would come down and pay 50 cents to see the movie and stay all day to see the movies all day because the air conditioning was so nice. We were the most expensive, 50 cents to see movies when we opened up. The other theaters only charged a quarter or 35 cents because we are the Fox Theater and we're fabulous. We were 50 cents, which was very much expensive back in the day, but people dug their money to come and see us. Now, I'm going to show you another inside shot of the Fox Theater. Some of you are familiar, just to give you another inside shot. Those are some of the fabulous columns of the Fox Theater that you're going to see again. And you see the ceiling there at the Fox Theater. But now I'm going to jump you back. When you walk into the Fox Theater, I'm going to go to the lobby, I think, because we're going to start with where you come in the Fox Theater. This is a video that I have. So that is a view towards the back as the doors open. That is, and you see those fabulous columns. I'm going to show this video several times. Those columns and oh, by the way, the architecture of the fabulous Fox Theater was a gentleman, the architect was R.L. Stein. Mr. Fox scheduled and hired Mr. Stein to create the fabulous Fox Theater, as well as a couple of his other Fox theaters, even though he didn't have them all. Now, when we opened the Fox Theater in St. Louis, I'm going to say a couple of facts to you that I hope blow your mind. It cost to open the Fox Theater and to build it in 1929, $6 million. $6 million in 1929. They had 26 craftsmen that came in mostly by ship over from Europe to create the interior of the Fox Theater and the exterior. They left their families for 2 years. That $6 million today would be upwards of 90 some odd million dollars, almost $100 million to try to build it the same way that they built it back then. They can't do it because you'd never get out of it what you put into it, the cost. It was quite a roaring 20. I always say it was really the roaring 20s because it was a very plush, it was a very rich country. And Mr. Fox loved St. Louis. So he put a lot of money into our Fox Theater. Now I'm going to tell you another blow your mind statistic. Raise your hand if you know that the Fox Theater is a twin. Nobody's hand goes up. If anybody knows where the twin is, I will tell you. The twin of the, and I'm not kidding, there is an exact duplicate in Detroit, Michigan. That's where it is. It's in Detroit. And it was actually built first in 1927, and we were built last in 1929. We're actually a little bit splashier, everybody, with a little more gold paint, but it is an exact duplicate. If you go into the Fox Detroit today, which I'm glad to tell you, even though Detroit Fox is under different management than us in St. Louis, they're doing fine in Detroit. Not quite as good as we're doing, but they're doing great in Detroit. Our Fox Theater, again, was built a little splashier with a little more gold paint, but it is an exact duplicate. Architect R.L. Stein. So that people don't realize that there's a duplicate theater. We think we're unique here in St. Louis if we've never been to Detroit, but we're not unique. I will tell you that Mr. Fox really loved St. Louis, and that's why he gave us a little extra gold paint, because he liked us to be a little splashier. And on the website, we're thefabulousfox.com. Nobody else is the Fabulous Fox. I just like to show off a little bit about that. So let's go back to the lobby. When you come into the Fox Theater, the floor to ceiling of the Fox Theater is 63 feet in height. 63 feet, depending on where you're standing. The design of the interior of the lobby of the Fox Theater is designed to look like, no kidding, an Indian burial mosque. I'm going to repeat that, a burial mosque, but it's oversized. Those columns are not solid marble. They're actually a hollow column, and the outside is painted to look like marble. I'm going to start it over one more time. Now the lobby over those doors hangs a tapestry. It is 32 feet in height. That tapestry, it is bedazzled and bejeweled, and it is custom made to fit that window that hangs in the front of the lobby. It is got a shaman that is praying on that tapestry. I'm going to pull into that tapestry real quick. And everyone knows the glowing eyes from the lions in the lobby. The look of the Fox Theater, Mr. Fox was going for the look of mystical. Mystical. I always say when you walk in the Fox Theater, you look up and you go, wow. It is incredible. It's similar to what Walt Disney did for the Disney theme parks. When you go to Walt Disney, you're not going just to ride a roller coaster. You're going for the whole Walt Disney kingdom. When you see that palace, it has a wow factor. And that's what the Fox Theater was going for. There is The tapestry, see the shaman that is praying there on that material tapestry that hangs in the lobby that's 32 feet in height. So that's just part of the mystical look that Eva Leo Fox and Mr. Fox were going for. They took the Far East, as it was termed back then, and they brought it to the look of the fabulous Fox Theater. Most people in St. Louis certainly had not been to the Orient or to Turkey or to any of those countries, India, Egypt. So that's what they were trying to create, was a whole spectacular look of the fabulous Fox Theater to make you go, wow, as you walked through the Fox Theater. Of course, our concessions were never allowed in the theater for years and years at the Fox Theater, that you were never allowed to bring in concessions, but now you are, because otherwise no one would buy any concessions. Anyway, I do want to talk to you a little bit more about the architecture of the theater again. I'm going to show you this photo. Again, now we're walking into the lobby. Excuse me, the auditorium. We call this the auditorium of the fabulous. This is a shot from upstairs. So you see the mezzanine seats and you see more of the columns. And then up at the top there, we have a spectacular ceiling, do we not? It is unbelievable. The hanging from the ceiling is that fabulous chandelier. It is Tiffany style. It is 12 foot in diameter. And no, ladies and gentlemen, that is not a chandelier that is ever swung on stage for a Phantom of the Opera. We do not swing that chandelier anywhere. It is antique. It's almost 100 years old. It actually cranks down and lowers to set down on the mezzanine seats. They lower it by crank, and it has a little door that you can open in the inside of the chandelier where you can go in and change the over 500 light bulbs. Let me repeat that. 500 light bulbs. I've never had to do that job so far. Somebody else has to do that, but it is quite an endeavor. They do those light bulb changes every 2 years. And then they crank that baby. It's done by hand back up to the ceiling. Now, does anybody have any idea what the ceiling of the auditorium is made to look like? The ceiling of the auditorium of the fabulous Fox Theater, you see a circle there, right? We see a circle. Yes, goes around the entire interior of the auditorium. It is made to look like, and it's really better seen in person, so I hope you look up the next time you come to the theater. It is actually, see those pointy things that are sticking up from the circle? Where's my finger? Sorry. Where's my finger? Well, I'm not doing this too well. But you see those pointy things that are sticking up right there? Yeah. Those are supposedly spears that are holding up a tent. Okay, so that is, you are actually underneath a Royal Arabian tent. You see the blue sky that is shooting through the tent from the ceiling. There's also above the tent a beautiful, beautiful gold sun. So you're under a Royal Arabian tent at the fabulous Fox Theater. It is a little bit better. It's supposed to look like the interior roof of a tent. And it is bedazzled and bejeweled. The next time you go to the Fox Theater, can anybody guess, are there over 1,000 jewels on the Fox Theater? No. Are there 2,000? No. There are over 6,200 jewels on the Fox Theater ceiling and up at the front where the
Aleece, you froze, and oh, hello. Hello, everybody. Let me see if we can get Aleece back. Oh, there you are. Oh, let's you need to unmute. There you go.
Sorry, everybody. I have no idea. You know, COVID, strange things have happened. The Fox Theater stage. We have one of the largest stage capacities of most theaters in the country. Let me repeat that to you. The Fox Theater in St. Louis has one of the largest stage capacities of almost all theaters in the country. Raise your hand if you've happened to have been and gone to a show in New York to see a show? Okay, some of you have had the chance to do that. Do you know when you go to a one of the Broadway or off-Broadway performances in New York, it was quite surprising to some of you when you've gone into that theater, right? Compared to the Fox, it's quite a bit smaller, isn't it? Do you know the average capacity in New York for a Broadway theater is about 800 seats? Your Fox Theater in St. Louis has 4,200 seats. And our stage capacity is spectacular. And that's why a lot of the big Broadway shows love to come to our theater and do our big shows, especially for that stage. Because of those big sets, ladies and gentlemen, you know Les Miserables, and you know Phantom of the Opera and Wicked. Well, they have massive sets that they bring, especially one of the largest sets that takes up almost every inch of the fabulous Fox Theater is one of the most popular Broadway shows, The Lion King. And in fact, it's such a big, extravagant show that we have to remove seats in the Fox Theater to get that show in. So it's spectacular. But the shows just absolutely love to come to the Fox because we have such a large capacity on our stage. Now, back to the architecture, I do want to point out just a couple of things. This doesn't give you the best idea, but this is walking out onto the auditorium from the back of the house. So this is the auditorium floor. Look at the vast amount of seats. There's 2,000 seats down and 2,000 seats up, all right, roughly. 2,000 seats on the orchestra floor and 2,000 seats on the upstairs balcony and mezzanine. This is, again, walking out onto the auditorium floor. There are alcoves and spectacular stained glass throughout the Fox Theater. In the architecture of the design of the Fox Theater, they used a lot of stained glass. Yes, they did. And so we still have some of the original stained glass. Some of it was broken when we were closed. Now, I do want to talk to you about that a little bit. The Fox Theater remained open until almost 1976. I want to get that straight. Correct. We were owned finally at that time by the Arthurs. The Arthur family was wonderful, except we had quite a bit of overhead, and Broadway was not touring yet. They showed mostly movies and some rock concerts. The rock concerts really took a toll on the Fox Theater. They were those kind of rock concerts, everybody. So there was some damage done to the theater. There was kind of wild parties going on. You get me, right? So some glass got broken, some of the walls were damaged, and the Fox Theater remained open until the end of 1977, early 78, and they finally had to close their doors. Now, we had a wonderful family, and in fact, it was several investors that were looking at the office building connected to the Fox Theater right next door called the Humboldt Building. What they were investing in really was the office building. But the deal was for this corporate package is that you had to buy the Fox Theater to buy the Humboldt Building. So you couldn't buy the Humboldt unless you took the Fox. Well, one of our wonderful patronesses, and still current owner of the Fox Theater, Mrs. Mary Strauss, you may be familiar with the name. She talked to her husband and Mr. Wonderful Leon Strauss and a few additional investors, Mr. Bob Baudendistles and more. And she took them through a tour of the darkened, broken down, dilapidated, I must say that because we had broken glass, ripped up chairs, etc., through the Fox Theater. She said, and you know, Mama gets what Mama wants, ladies and gentlemen. She said to the investors, we're going to buy this deal and we're going to open this Fox Theater for the St. Louis area because she's a great patroness of the arts. And that's exactly what they did. So it took $3.2 million just to get it in any kind of shape to reopen the doors. We were reopened in 1982 to the benefit of the Fox Theater. They opened with a Broadway show called Barnaby. Oh, excuse me, that's wrong. I love Barnaby Jones. Barnum. Barnum was the show, and as they say, the rest is history. We've been open since 1982. And again, we have now on our stage, even though we've lost a few months here, haven't we, from this COVID? But in November, we're starting with the greatest touring national Tony Award winning Broadway shows again, and adding more concerts on. So it is happening. If you have questions for me, I'll try to answer at the end of the presentation, because most people ask me questions about the shows of the Fox Theater. I want to take you upstairs now. Upstairs, this is the 4th level. Anyone can go here at the upstairs 4th floor. This is in the seating areas. This is called Peacock Alley. And you see these fabulous posters on the walls. Since 1982, when the Fox Theater was reopened, they've placed these posters up there in our Peacock Alley. This is where Mrs. Eva Leo Fox used to display some artwork. There's the boss himself, Mr. Bruce Springsteen. These are a list of all the performers and shows that we have had at the Fox Theater since 1982. Photos or listings of all the shows. And again, this is on the 4th level in the seating area of the Fox Theater in St. Louis, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to come up here anytime you come to a show. And they call it Peacock Alley because, yes, there's a little peacock at the top of the alley of the Fox Theater. We've had just some amazing performers at the theater, thousands, in fact. There's Sammy Hagar. We've had Mr. Frank Sinatra on our stage, and many other performers, not only the Tony Award-winning Broadway shows, but of course, we've had the fabulous concerts as well. So don't forget about going up to look at our Peacock Alley when you come to the Fox Theater, which is just wonderful. And again, you don't have to be out in the auditorium during the shows. I do want to show you another of our great guys. Some of you may remember this guy. Some of you may remember we have organs in our Fox Theater, mighty Wurlitzer theater organs. They're some of the only theater organs that remain in the Fox Theater. We still play them for our Saturday morning tours. This guy is a young Stan Can. Who knew Stan Can? He used to play the organ. Lovely man. We've lost him now, sadly, for 10 years. But he trained all of our current organists that play at the Fox Theater. And he played for us for 22 years. He was a celebrity in his own right because he was also on Johnny Carson. For over 30 times, Johnny had him on. Johnny loved him. I know some of you looking out there at your faces remember Johnny Carson. And for those of you who don't, he was the Jimmy Fallon of his day. But Johnny had one of the original talk shows. And Mr. Stan Can played our organ for the tours. And he is right there. We have a special tribute to Mr. Stan Can up on the 4th floor as well. Stan only stood 5'7", but he was a giant in our eyes. And I always want to remember to mention Mr. Stan Can to you. There he is. There is the guy, the man, the myth. He's just fantastic. We miss him dearly. We really do. But I don't want you to forget Mr. Stan Can. Now, I talked to you a little bit about some of the performers that we've had here on our stage at the fabulous Fox Theater. We've had some that you're going to be very familiar with, like several times we've had Mr. Tony Bennett, yay, the dream and wonderful Mr. Johnny Mathis. I mentioned Mr. Frank Sinatra. I do wish you to be a little jealous of me because I got shake Mr. Frank Sinatra's hand many years ago when I started at the Fox Theater. I don't know if that's any importance to anybody but myself, but Mr. Frank Sinatra was there, but we've also had lots of others. Tina Turner has been on our stage. I have a few photos to show you of some of the performers of the Fox Theater. Let me start this video over again. Thank you for your patience. Here we go. Even Lady Gaga has performed at the Fabulous Fox Theater. Yes, Lady Gaga has been there. We've had everybody from Lady Gaga. There's Miss Tina Turner on our walls. That's Mr. B.B. King, if you remember Lucille, his guitarist. And there is Hart has performed at the Fox Theater, as well as Miss Aretha Franklin, bless her heart, and Mr. Johnny, hold on. Johnny and his wife, Johnny Cash. I know who that is. And there's Katie Lang we've had on our stage of the Fox Theater. This is some of the stained glass. This one's a little tough to see because it's so bright. We've had some fabulous stained glass, and there's stained glass everywhere. There's stained glass in every restroom of the Fox Theater. That's the king that is throughout the theater. You see some of the ceiling stained glass throughout the theater. This is on the third level of the Fabulous Fox Theater in St. Louis, which is the mezzanine and the balcony level. This takes you out into the auditorium where you can look up and see the Raja, the elephant, which is above the stage. Raja, the elephant, we've named her. She's actually supposedly good. There she is. She's supposedly good luck because in a particular Indian religion, her trunk faces up of the Fox Theater, which is good luck. Also, I wanted to mention to you, if next time you come through the Fox Theater, look at the carpet. What's on the carpet of the Fox Theater are elephants, which is in state with the decor of the Fabulous Fox Theater, but the carpet layers absolutely hate us at the Fox Theater. We've relayed the carpet several times in our 90 years of being open. And the elephant trunk of the carpeting only points to the stage. And that was a Mr. Fox specific thing. That matters nowhere. That matters everywhere. On the stairs, in the bathrooms, on the third floor, on the fourth floor, in the lobby. The elephant trunk of the carpeting always must face the stage. Carpet layers absolutely hate us because we make them do that. But it works out. And it's just a fun fact to know about the Fabulous Fox Theater. I want to show you the stage again real quick. There's the large capacity stage that I was telling you about. There's shaman that are everywhere, which are praying individuals. There's statues throughout the theater. That's another shot of the upstairs, 2,000 seats up. I mentioned that to you, of the Fox Theater. Now I want to point out, we have creatures all throughout the theater. Creatures. There's an eagle. There are swans in the theater, in the architecture. There are monkeys, parrots. There are, and of course, our trademark, which is a griffin of the Fabulous Fox Theater. Some are real creatures that they've used in their architecture, and some are mystical. What do you think these guys are? Well, they have tails at the end of them. So, but the front of them sort of looks like a bulldog. This took us a long time to look in all the history books to try to figure out what those creatures were. They're actually in a mystical book that we found. They're not real, and those are mystical dolphins. So next time you sit upstairs, you'll know that you're looking at mystical dolphins of the Fox Theater. They specifically used the creatures because it was made to look like that experience, that mystical experience that they wanted you to have when you walked in the Fox Theater. Now this is a little blurred, but I want to show you. This is inside the auditorium. These are more lions that surround the auditorium. And then there's face masks at the top of the auditorium that are throughout. These are not the face masks of tragedy and comedy that we know of theater. They're merely shaman, which are like priests that are praying for you. So it's nice that you're in such a place that we have nice people looking down at you as you watch your show at the Fabulous Fox Theater in St. Louis. I did want to make mention, if you're not familiar, we did open and build a very large parking garage of the Fabulous Fox Theater just a few years back, which really helps with the parking situation in Midtown when you come down. Now, I'm going to take you backstage of the Fabulous Fox Theater. I've talked about the front of the house. Now I'm going to talk about the back of the house. The back of the house of the Fabulous Fox Theater. Oh, I should mention that the front of the house, which is the seating areas, is 5 stories tall. The back of the house, which people don't know, is 9 stories tall of the Fabulous Fox. It is 9 stories up. If you ever drive around the back of the Fox, you'll see how large it is back there. Those are filled with dressing rooms. And you can believe you me that when Lion King comes, they fill every room of those dressing rooms because they have such a large cast. Stage managers, costumers, cast members, etc., and so on. A lot of the lower level rooms are made up of the costumers. They keep all the costumes down there. But what is unique to the Fox Theater backstage, does anybody know? It is that since 1982, when we reopened the theater in St. Louis, all of the cast members, the stars, the celebrities, and the shows, they've created fabulous murals and photos, and they've all painted. They come with a design in mind, and before they leave the theater, after the show is over, they sign their signature and they leave these fabulous murals. And I mean, we have 8 stories of fabulous murals backstage. If you can ever come on a backstage tour, we would love to show you those in person. But I have some photos for you to see some of these murals that they have painted. By the way, this is unique to the Fox Theater. And we've got signatures back there of everybody I mentioned to you so far, which includes Richard Chamberlain and Richard Harris. We all know him from Arthur from Camelot. We also have signatures even from Tony Randall and Jack Klugman from The Odd Couple. We have signatures of Joel Grey from, of course, Cabaret. Carol Channing, the divine Carol Channing, has signed the walls of the Fox Theater. Even a Beatle, ladies and gentlemen, when the Beatle came to the Fox Theater, Ringo Starr has signed the theater back walls. But let me show you some of these fabulous murals that we have. So the shows create these big, elaborate murals. That's Beauty and the Beast. I kind of jumped over that one. Fabulous, fabulous murals that they paint. Sorry about my video. It should be better for you all. That's La Cage aux Folles. So they create this fabulous mural backstage and then they sign the walls. It is a backstage theater, ladies and gentlemen. So we are 90 years old. So some of the walls do look like they're 90 years old. There's Aida, which is the mural from Aida. That is Dream Girls. I'm going to show you some of the elaborate painting they did. They actually put wigs up on the walls of the Fox Theater. West Side Story. This might actually look backwards to you, doesn't it? But that's okay. West Side Story. Yes, Rita Moreno has signed the backstage walls. That's one of our Lion King murals, which is the Lion King has come several times. But all of the cast also signs the walls. We're going to move on. Here's another of the Dream Girls, another elaborate display from Dream Girls of the Fox Theater. Oh, let me hit play. There we go. Billy Elliot has been to the Fox Theater, of course. Some of you have been to these shows, of course. Pocahontas has made her way to the Fox Theater. And there's Cabaret. There's Joel Grey, painted with Cabaret on the wall. And so they have these fabulous artistic people that come with them from the show. That's Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I'm not sure about that one. That is Guys and Dolls. We all know what that logo looks like, Guys and Dolls. Now the back lower level of the Tommy has been to the Fox Theater. That one was a long time ago. Now I'm going to show you, see that big hallway? That is the lower level of the Fox Theater. We're going to walk the entire lower level of the Fox Theater back underneath. Yes, we store some ladders down there. But you can see how elaborate these murals are, which again is unique to the Fox Theater. This is not in every other theater in the country. Not at all. There's Carol Channing. Look at that crazy cartoon Carol Channing. She signed the walls right there. And when she came for Hello Dolly, yes, we had Carol Channing for Hello Dolly. I thought that was pretty incredible. All right, let me jump to a new one. Oh, Spamalot. Spamalot was there many times. Monty Python's Spamalot. We all know that one is Disney's Lion King. Little Women was at the Fox Theater. Yes, yes. And one I really wanted to show you to make sure you saw, Wicked. This one is pretty creepy, this mural. It's right by an exit sign. It's kind of a dark corner, but it's perfect for Wicked, isn't it? It's very popular. You got what I said there? Did you get my joke? Popular. If you know the music, you know the show. So that's another one. Once was here at the Fox Theater. These are, look at how elaborate these murals are. I mean, it looks like a piece of art on the walls, but these are actually painted on the walls of the Fox Theater. Did I hit play? Goodness, I have fat thumbs. I'm sorry. Maybe not. There's the Blue Man Group was there at the Fox Theater. Finding Neverland made its way to the Fox Theater. Peter Pan, Finding Neverland. An American in Paris, if we all remember the Gene Kelly movie. And The Color Purple made its way to the Fox Theater. Really a heart-wrenching and beautiful production of it. And I can't read that one. I apologize. Oh, School of Rock was at the Fox Theater, as well as Carole King's musical Beautiful was at the fabulous Fox Theater. We've had hundreds and hundreds of shows at the Fox Theater. Sorry, I took a lot of pictures here. On Your Feet, Dirty Dancing. Who remembers that show? I do. Fun Home. Fun Home, by the way, I want to stop right there. I had mentioned to you earlier that Mr. Fox owned Fox Theatricals, the production company that put shows on stage. Well, now your St. Louis fabulous Fox Theater owns Fox Theatricals, and we produce Broadway shows. Let me repeat that to you. Your Fox Theater produces Broadway, and that Fun Home show, there's the logo again, was the Tony Award winner in New York for Best Musical. We have won over 27 Tony Awards. Let me show you that cabinet. This is on the second floor of the fabulous Fox Theater. That's a display case. Those are actual Tony Awards that we have won on the big stage in New York City. And again, we have had many productions where your Fox Theater has won Tony Awards for the productions that we've put on. Now I want to take you to the second floor of the Fox Theater. This is our Fox Club. This is membership only of the Fox Theater. You must be a member of the Fox Club to be there on this level, or have one of those luxury boxes of the Fox Theater. Those are some of the Egyptian influences. You see the pharaoh's heads, and there's a beautiful bar on that level of the Fox Theater, Fox Club. Dining is included with your Fox Club membership. You can make reservations for our reservation and dine there. There's Sereni setting up for a wedding. We also have special events at the Fox Theater. She was setting up for a beautiful wedding at the Fox Theater. So this is one of the luxury boxes of the Fox Theater that we have, over 27 luxury boxes. The owner's box, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, are up there on those luxury boxes of the Fox Theater. So on the edges, on the far and right-hand side of the luxury boxes of that level, if you ever see a lady that is 70, 80, maybe 60 years old, that could be one of the owners of the Fox Theater, Mrs. Mary Strauss, or the two other current owners of the Fox Theater, Mrs. Lisa Noonan and Julie Suntrip. Those are the owners of our fabulous, fabulous Fox associates right now. Let me see if there's more information that I have. Oh, one thing I want to show you backstage, which will also be a surprise to you if you've never been on the backstage tour of the Fox Theater, something you definitely did not expect to see. This is always a surprise to people. We have a very unique room of the Fox Theater in the lower level that I do take people on tours to see. And this room was specially made by Mr. Fox. It's down on the lower level. Did I hit play? There we go. There is a massive movie room underneath the Fox Theater that seats 100 people. And Mr. Fox would sit in his movie room underneath the Fox Theater with the managers of the Fox. See the silver screen ahead there? This is underneath the theater where he would preview all of his movies that he would show at the Fox Theater. Those are more stars and celebrities. We put posters there in that room now. Johnny Cash, you saw Reba McEntire. But that movie room is quite a surprise to people when they see that movie room down there. And that's where Mr. Fox would sit, and he would pre-watch all the movies before he would show anything at the fabulous Fox Theater back in the day when we were a movie house. I think mostly what I have said is a lot of what I can say to you on Zoom and discussing the fabulous Fox Theater. I would like to now open up and allow you to chat with me and ask me any questions. I believe you'll ask the question to Judy, and Judy will relay the question to me. Is that correct?
I can help with that, or they
Great.
can unmute themselves as well. There's a couple things that they have said in the chat.
Lovely.
What was the Detroit Fox Theater named?
It was the Fox, called the Detroit Fox, but we are, by the way, as I mentioned, the only one that can say we are the fabulous Fox Theater.
And then I think this you might have answered in your discussion.
Oh, okay.
Jonathan Daner said, tell us about the era when Arthur Enterprises owned the Fox, and I think you covered that.
I covered a little bit. They were a wonderful family. Wonderful. The Arthur family. They had it for over a decade, and they kept the doors open as long as they possibly could. They did a wonderful job.
And Harriet says she remembers the 60s, and she believes that the theater was remodeled, and then they showed Gone with the Wind. Is that?
When we reopened the theater, you're absolutely correct. When we reopened the theater, we opened with Barnum, a Broadway show, but shortly thereafter, after the remodeling, we did show some movies at the Fox Theater. And one of the very first was, of course, the epic Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler, Gone with the Wind. But we've also had other movies, such as Sound of Music.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And someone was, Stan, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
Stan.
a long time subscriber.
Thank
And
you.
I have some wonderful seats. And I'm wondering if I'll be able to get those seats back again once you get moving.
That is not a question I can answer because of this COVID. It's really made things a sticky wicket, hasn't it? But I would, if you were, I can't imagine. I don't want to misspeak at this time, Stan, because I don't know those specifics.
Okay.
I did just overhear, it was on the news this morning about the Muni Opera reopening, and they are only opening to 60% capacity. 60% capacity, which I find very interesting. What I would do if I were you, Stan, is I would contact your subscriber's office as soon as the Fox has the number, because I'm sure you have a phone number with your
Right, I'll
seat.
get that. Okay, thank you.
They would
Thank
be
you.
able to answer that a lot more readily than I would.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I hope so.
Michelle has a couple of questions in case she didn't, in case you didn't cover it. She, do we know why the Fox decided to offer both 6 and 7 show B-ways?
Repeat the
Series.
question again.
She wants to know
Wait a minute.
why the Fox decided to offer both 6 and 7.
Show Broadway series. Do you know
Yeah.
why?
Oh, yeah. It just depends. You know what that is all about, honestly? It depends on what is touring for that particular year and what, honestly, it's a scheduling situation. So sometimes we can offer 7 shows, and sometimes as part of the Broadway series, and sometimes we offer 6 shows as part of the Broadway series. But it just depends on what is actually touring that we can get scheduled.
Yeah, what was interesting is that this year they have both options. So it isn't an either or. In terms of one year they had 7 shows, and then this time they gave us the choice of whether we wanted all 7, and that's what I was curious about.
I think they're just trying to make it very, very attractive, of course, to our subscribers, because we don't want to lose people. We want people to come back again and again and again. And so they offered the option of having the additional 7th show just to make it an additional enticement for people.
And then the other question I had, because I am a Broadway series subscriber, so
Thank you.
we have already gotten our opportunity to renew with no mention of our seats not being available. So based on what you just said, do you think
again, I do not want to answer that today because I am not equipped and have not been given that information. I would hope that everyone gets their subscription seats back. I don't know. We have thousands, Michelle. We have over 20,000 subscribers, current 20,000 subscribers. So I would imagine you would get your seats back.
That's not my question, although I appreciate that.
Okay.
My question is that, has there been any discussion about what kind of protocols might be in place for the audience this time? Even though
the only protocol at this very moment that we have is people are required to wear masks. That's all I can address is right now what the protocol is, that people are required to wear masks. If that may change by November, it might, but I do not know any other protocol at this time.
Yeah, it's a moving target for everyone. It's just, but you know, we got to take baby steps as everybody does. So
right.
Let's see what else we've got here. People are talking about some of the other shows. They saw Liberace in concert, Tony Orlando, and many other personalities. That was Barbara. Joanne says, thanks. Very interesting. Let's see if there's more questions.
Anybody have a question?
I think
looks there's like a hand that went up.
Harriet, you want to unmute? Harriet?
Yeah, just a second.
Hi, Harriet.
Hi.
Oh, Harriet?
You got to hit it again and unmute.
It doesn't like me.
We can't hear you, Harriet. It
I don't
doesn't
know
let-
why it keeps
Yeah.
jumping back. You
Yeah.
keep being muted.
Can you type it in the chat for me and I can ask the question? While Harriet's typing, does anyone else have anything they would like to ask or comments?
I do.
Okay, Barbara.
Maybe I misunderstood, but you mentioned supervising nurses.
I do oversee the medical staff. Yes, we have at every show, I have a medical professional on staff at every single performance. We have an average of 200 shows a year. And I have a medical professional in case there's any medical emergency or situation that arises. So I hire nurses. Yes.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And Harriet would like to know, how did they get the organ to come up from the stage and rotate?
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you for that question. I should have brought it up in my presentation. There's a big, large, what's called jack system that raises up it's like a big, like there's large screws underneath the platform. And that jack system is all electronic and it raises up the mighty Wurlitzer theater organ. And then when there's shows, we lower down the organ and tuck it underneath the stage. And it's all electronic on a jack system.
Well, I think we're running out of time here.
I'm sorry, I talk and talk because I love the Fox Theater.
I'm glad this has been so wonderful. Thank you. And it was a wealth of information that we didn't know. And, I'm going to have to try to get to one of those live tours someday because it sounds like it would be
It's
very
fun.
interesting to come to. So,
especially when we get to go backstage right now. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. So if anyone else, does anyone else have one last question we can go?
Any questions about shows? Everybody always has questions about shows. We do have scheduled for this Broadway season, if you're not familiar. I know we're not supposed to sell on these presentations, but I do want to mention, you can actually get subscription tickets. You can get all 7 shows for roughly $260. All 7 shows, $260 is the lowest price. Now, this is the lowest price ticket, okay? Those of you who have tickets on other, different locations of the Fox Theater, it might be higher. But you can actually get all 7 shows for roughly $260 for all 7 performances of a national Tony Award-winning Broadway shows. And that includes this season, hold the phone, that includes Hamilton.
Oh,
whoa. So keep that in mind. You can get those tickets this year.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed. Let me see. We have one more message here. Tell us about the air raid watchers during the war. That
is an actual true thing. When we were open in the early 40s, of course, late 30s and 40s, when the war was starting to commence, World War II, we're talking about here, and World War II. The Fox had procedures, and many of the taller businesses in town, the Fox had procedures where our staff would go up on the roof and look for planes, for bombers. And we had a siren. Every city in the country had a siren on our roof, that if any bombers came overhead in the St. Louis area, they would do those sirens. But I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that if the Nazis got to the Central America in 1940s, we'd be in real trouble. We would be on a real downward slope. They would never get to the Central America, okay? But they had those procedures in place just in case.
Well, again, thank you so much. We really enjoyed your program today, and we're looking forward to the Fox opening, and we can come and see the Fox
Come and
and
see me.
shows. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.